It's 4 minutes past 8. You're listening to Moreton Bay's own radio station, 101.5. It's a SportsFeva time, and that was Cat Stevens, Matthew and Son kicking off the show, Swampy Marsh.
A very special song to start the show today, Matty, and I'm sure something that all SportsFeva listeners will be very keen to hear. A big congratulations to yourself and your lovely wife, Kerry. Birth of your first son, little Ezra, last week. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Swampy. He fitted in nicely too, didn't he?
Didn't he? Little Ezra kicking goals already.
We were waiting last Thursday. We said, will SportsFeva go ahead? Kerry was due on SportsFeva last Thursday. He held off till Friday, come along, and then he said, Dad, go along to the Redcliffe Dolphins on Sunday as well. So he fitted in well. He's a good little fella.
Smart little tackle. He talk 2 days old.
He is. Well,
I understand how much the Dolphins means to you as well.
It was a father and son bond. He didn't have to say the words. I knew what he meant, Swampy. So no, thanks very much for the congratulations.
Big congratulations from me and I'm sure from all the SportsFeva listeners, Matty.
For young Ezra, look out for him in try-scoring list for the Dolphins in a couple of years' time. Swampy, action-packed show today, mate. Plenty to come up. Of course, we're talking to Rupert McCall. Wasn't a great day at Dolphin Oval last Sunday. We'll talk more to Rupert about it, but not ideal.
Not ideal by any stretch, but look, it's brand 2, which is probably the biggest thing you'll take out of that. Plenty of time left before September.
A real favourite of the show just sent a message from the Queensland Firebirds. They started off their year a little bit better. Yep, they got their year off in a winning fashion. We'll talk to Jacinta at 8:15 this morning. A real good friend of the show, Mike Whiting, our AFL guru, is going to talk about the chances of the Queensland teams in the AFL this year. He'll be on at about 8:30. And then another good friend of the show coming up at 8:45, Swamp.
Yeah, Brent Elliott, local boxer, had a little bit of time out of the sport and is coming back into it next week. So we'll find out all about what kept him out and what's brought him back.
Sounds good, Swamp. We'll play a song. We'll get our good friend Rupert on the line, and we'll be back to talk sport. Powder finger there. Whatever makes you happy. Well, a Dolphin victory makes us happy, Swampy, and it makes our next guest very happy as well. And joining us on the line, he's #1 ticket holder for the Dolphins, Rupert McCall. Good morning to you.
Yes, boys. I wasn't very happy on Sunday afternoon, I can tell you.
No, Rupert, things didn't go to plan. We talked about it last Thursday. We were hoping for a big victory, 5 games at Dolphin Oval. We walked away, took to the last game, the Melbourne Cup, to salvage us from a shellacking, a pants down moment from losing all 5, but not ideal at all to start the season at Dolphin Oval.
No, that's that was a hard day at the office, as they say in the classics, but you got to have those, throughout the season. And I suppose, if you had your choice of when to have them, well, earlier the better. Just to say that, well, we've got a good team on paper and a good team on the paddock, and we played really well in the first game. Showed what we were capable of. But, if you take anything for granted, not just in the Queensland Cup, but, at any level, that's what happens. And especially, one man down for most of the game in that heat, well, it was always going to be challenging.
Yeah, exactly. And look, we're not making excuses at all for the loss here, but that was a huge turning point when your halfback, the Queensland Cup Player of the Year from 2012, is sent off early in the game, and sent off not to return. It's a huge turning point in any game of rugby league, isn't it, Rupert?
Absolutely. I mean, and the boys, they rallied. They didn't throw the towel in. Like, at that point, no way. I think they might have been 10-0 up at the time, and they had opportunities after that to get some, I suppose, some confidence and momentum, even with Luke Capel off the field. But it didn't go their way. A couple of tries for the Tigers, one that bounced off the post, and you just had the feeling that it was going to be a tough day and a good learning experience, especially for some of the young blokes in the side.
Not to be underestimated there either, Rupert. The scoreline probably doesn't reflect just how close that game was, even still with the Finns with 12 men. I think it wasn't out of the question until 10 or at least 10 minutes to go, and Joey Bond just about kick-started a great comeback with almost length of the field try, held up about 4 metres short. So a good effort for those boys that were still left on the park to still be in that match against an East side, which a lot of people are tipping to do big things this year. Yeah,
they'll be strong this year, the Tigers, and Joey Bond nearly beat every man in the opposition to score that try. Wouldn't it have been great to see him touch down? They'd be replaying that on YouTube forever, but I mean, there are some strong teams in the competition. Manly bounced back on the weekend over Tweed, who we play this week. They'll be strong Tweed. They've got the Mark Minicellos and the Bo Henrys, etc. So you're right, mate. You can't take anything for granted. And the Dolphins did compete, and they'll have to show up at Dolphin Oval on Sunday afternoon with the same sort of attitude.
Of course, the big news from last week's game, we lost Dannon Kemp in the warm-up as well to a hamstring injury, and he won't be back for a couple of weeks either. So Joe Bradley will move to the centres, as he did pre-game last week. But it was a big effort from Tui Samoa to back up after a game of reserve grade or Fogs Cup to also play in the Queensland Cup.
Yeah, just an extra chapter of adversity, I suppose, but that happens in rugby league, so you've got to cop that on the chin as well. Joe Bradley will be better for having a week of training in the position, knowing that he's going to play there a little bit more settled, coming into this big Easter Sunday clash, boys. Hey, bring it on.
We can't wait. Easter eggs to be handed out at the ground. A few other changes to the side. Nick Sliney's still with a question mark over. He's the 18th man for the Broncos. If he doesn't play, he will come in to the side. But Troy Geese expected to return from injury, and Monty Tickernow, after a really good game in the Fogs Cup, has earned himself a spot on the bench. So it's a good-looking lineup again, Rupert, on the weekend. And as we know, long history against Tweed. They dusted us in a grand final, but there's been some great clashes over the last 10 years or so at Dolphin Oval between the Seagulls, well, the Tweed Head Seagulls, of course, and the Dolphins.
It's a great rivalry, Matty, it is, and they've been strong in recent seasons, Tweed, and there's no reason to suggest that they won't be strong again this year. They got a bit of a dusting from the Seagulls, as I said before, on the weekend, so they'll be really determined to bounce back. So, it's at that stage of the year, isn't it, where teams are sorting themselves out. Where's the strength lie? We know we've got a good side, but we really want to assert that authority and just let the other teams know that. We mean business, even in the face of last week's loss. It's really important for Petro to lead out these boys on Sunday afternoon with the wind in their sails and hopefully a good crowd cheering them on through the grades too. As you said, we had a bad day all around, so every man who runs out on Sunday in the red and white with a dolphin on his chest will be expected to do well.
Well, it works out well for us this weekend. Of course, the Fogs Cup have a bye, but the first game is we've got the Dolphins at 3 p.m, and then the Colts are actually after the game this weekend, so we can get all the Easter stuff out of the way early in the day and then head down to Dolphin Oval for a huge day out of rugby league.
Yes, mate, and stick around for the Colts, folks. They won the flag last year. They're a good young side. Dalton Phillips captaining, the Colts and rugby league sort of royalty amongst the ranks with Tommy Bishop's grandson, I think it is, playing. I think he's the hooker, isn't he? The little red dog.
Yeah, Alex Bishop. Yep.
Alex Bishop, yeah, mate. He's a tiger, and he's a dolphin, but he plays like a tiger. And it'll be a great double header, the Intrust Super Cup Premier grade into the Dolphins Colts.
Yeah, can't wait for it. Now, just before we let you go, Rupert, unfortunately the Bulls just went shy in the Sheffield Shield final in the week just gone. But if we turn our attention back 18 years, it was a great day in Queensland sport. I know you were there. I know a good friend of the show, John Sloan, was there. It's 18 years ago to the day that Queensland won their first Sheffield Shield. Great times, mate.
Oh, mate, I've just had a little flashback, a shiver down the spine, and had a taste for a 4X bitter. Just sort of, chimed into my own backline here because, well, what a time it was. Not just one day, 5 days I was there, boys. And I don't remember it all, but, geez, what I do remember was absolutely outstanding. Sloaney on my right shoulder, Pooh Bear on my left, singing songs, Give Us a Wave, Beware the Wounded Queenslander. Turned into a party, I think, after Barsby and Marty Love scored their hundreds. We knew that we probably couldn't lose. AV, strode out, Andy Bickle off the long run-up, Paul Jackson bowls the delivery, Carl Rackerman takes the catch, and it was on for young and old. Oh, geez, I tell you what, there has to be, the most famous chapter. I think up with State of Origin #1, that Queensland Shield victory, that'd be the top 2 Queensland sporting moments of all time.
Absolutely. We've got the Sheffield Shield in our hands.
Okay, start it up again.
Yeah, away we go. It's great memories. We could probably talk about the 5 days all day, Ruth, but we know you've got a busy day ahead. great to reminisce and great to look forward to the Dolphins on Sunday.
Yeah, it's a big weekend. Look, some people will be going away, but if you're on the peninsula or in the surrounding areas, make your way to Dolphin Oval. 3 o'clock kickoff for the boys in red and white to turn the tables and get back in the winner's circle.
Can't wait. Thanks very much, Rupert McCall.
Matty, Swampy, happy Easter.
Thanks, Rupert. Cheers, mate. Rupert McCall, he fires us up, and looking forward to a big Sunday down at Dolphin Oval.
The other news to come out of last night, Matty, is, of course, Luke Capewell will be playing on Saturday. A visit to the judiciary after the happenings in about the 20th minute last week, and he managed to have that charge downgraded, and with an early plea is free to play this week. So good to see Rocky back in that side, and I think that's probably common sense. The view seems to be that he served enough of a punishment with his send-off on Sunday there.
Far too much of a punishment, Swamp Bob. This is not related. This is my opinion and my opinion only. That was not a send-off offence.
And with the same disclaimer as well, Matty, just my own personal opinion, I thought it was both of them probably deserved 10 minutes in the bin to cool their heads, chill out, and then they could get back on with the game. It was some ugly scenes, and he probably overreacted, but it certainly wasn't without provocation. I didn't see it on the game day, but I saw it in the replay, and it certainly wasn't out of the blue, and it wasn't without some rough treatment, to use a light word, before it as well. So good to see that he's back in and common sense prevailed there.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to a big weekend ahead at Dolphin Oval. Time now for a word from our sponsors. 22 minutes past 8, you're listening to Sports Fever on Moreton Bay's own radio station, 101.5. Now, time to talk to a real favourite of the show. We've followed her progress since she was picked up in the Firebirds squad, and we've been huge fans here at Sports Fever, and she joins us on the line again for another chat as we look ahead to the season of netball coming up in 2013. A big good morning to Jacinta Messer.
Hello, how are you?
We're really good here this morning, Jacinta, and things pretty good in the land of the Firebirds at the moment as well, with a 68-59 first up win over the Southern Steel. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we couldn't be happier with how we went in that first game.
And not to be underestimated, 6 new faces in that Firebirds squad that did take the court against the Southern Steel. How's everyone come together ahead of the 2013 season?
Look, I think it's always really hard to say goodbye to, some of the people that have been in that team for so long, particularly people like Kira Trump and Lauren Nurse. But those young ones have just come in and fit in so nicely and really just been such a breath of fresh air. So I'm not going to lie to you, there was a fair few nerves floating around that change room before the game, but, most of them got out there and hit the court and just blew it away. So couldn't be happier, and happy to have that first game out of the way and done with.
And how have you seen your role changing? Jacinta, of course, a rookie yourself last year into the squad. Now, I guess, becoming one of those senior players. How has your role changed within the team?
Yeah, no, it is funny. I think that last year I was coming in as the rookie, and now into that second season, the role does change slightly. But I mean, I still have so much to learn myself, and we are so fortunate to have some really great senior players come in, like Nelson McLeod, and we've got Nat Medhurst there and Geitzy. So everybody's really fit together really nicely and sort of found their role and their niche within the team. So it's looking really good.
Things started up your end of the court very well last week. Passing an eye across the stats, the Firebirds have 12 more shooting opportunities than the Southern Steel, and that's a real credit to the defence. It seems like that defensive unit's come together quite well very early in the season.
Absolutely. Like I said, we've got Geitzy down there who's, pretty much a veteran at the ripe old age of, 25, and also having Nelson McLeod come back as well. So there is a lot of experience down that defence now, and even against the big Jamaican shooter with Fowler from the Steel, they just really didn't have any replies for that defensive team that was down there.
Now, of course, the next 2 games are a little bit of a New Zealand road trip for the Firebirds, coming up against the Central Pulse on Monday. How are you feeling ahead of that Kiwi road trip for a couple of games?
We are very excited to be getting amongst that duty-free, let me tell you. Particularly back-to-back, I think 2 New Zealand trips will be really great for, coming together. It is tough, being on the road so much, particularly in those early weeks. But I think it's good to get those away trips out of the way and done with early in the piece, and then we can sort of focus in as it gets tougher against those Australian teams later on down the track.
Certainly if you can get the points in the bank, Jacinta, isn't it? If you can go away to New Zealand and grab the points and have them in the bank early in the season, it really sets up the rest of the year.
Oh, definitely. It's all about building that confidence in those first couple games. And if we learn anything from last year, it's that you need to get those wins, as you say, as early as you can and get those points in the bank. So I'm really happy to come away with the first win, and, you know, hopefully we can do the same again for the next two rounds.
Now, outside of the Firebirds, who we're certain are going to be a finals threat this year, who are the other teams that are really going to give the ANZ Championship a shake this year?
Look, you can't go past the Vixens. I think any team that's got Sherelle McMahon sitting on the bench for the first quarter is looking pretty good indeed. But also the Magic as well. They took out the premiership last year. I know we talk a lot about that hangover and you know, team that's won it before making the finals the following year, but they're just looking so strong, and Irene Van Dyke's ready to go.
That certainly are the teams to watch out for this year. It's a huge year ahead, and of course we got the great news just before the season started that a TV deal with Fox Sports and SBS had been inked, so that we can see our beloved Firebirds in action. That's huge for the sport as well, Jacinta, isn't it?
Look, I think it's really great to have Foxtel on board and to have that sort of coverage. They do such a great job. I know my boyfriend spends a lot of time watching a heck of a lot of Fox Sports, so we're great to be in that as well. And also to have SBS for the free-to-air option is really great as well. Yeah,
it is certainly a great option. Good luck on the New Zealand road trip. I don't think you're back at home until the 28th of April when you take on the Adelaide Thunderbirds. We might look to get you on the air just prior to that game, Jacinta, but good luck on the next three games ahead, the New Zealand road trip and then the New South Wales Swifts game on the 15th of April, and we look forward to talking to you again just before that Adelaide Thunderbirds game.
Wonderful. That sounds great. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Jacinta.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you. Cheers. Jacinta Messer, Moreton Bay's own Swampy netball star there at the Firebirds.
Just on that TV deal, matey, I spent a fair bit of time talking to our local netball associations and our young athletes as well. And look, that so many of them were just cheering so loudly to hear that deal. They were so disappointed to hear when it wasn't going to continue on free-to-air at the start of the year. And look, they'll just be so happy that they can, you know, watch the pinnacle of the sport here, and a wonderful competition. So I'm just so happy to hear that deal's been sorted out.
Yeah, no, great news for the sport and the Firebirds in general. Time now for a song, and we'll be back to talk AFL. There we go. That was the Coasters with Yakety Yak, and that was your cousin, I think it is, request.
It's his favourite song.
Loves it. And it is a classic. I can't blame him. The Coasters at Yakety Yak. It's 28-9, Swamp. Tom now took a little bit of quick Broncos news. A really, I guess, disappointing, frustrating, I think is probably the best word, performance against the Roosters last Saturday night. 8-0, plenty of ball, just couldn't convert.
Yeah, and look, it's opened up a big can of worms that has led to this week with Josh Dugan getting the tour around Red Hill and some questions there. So, and some interesting thoughts, I thought, from Gordon Tallis in the Courier Mail at the week. He said he's advised against recruiting that backline weapon. He wants to get them to go out and recruit a big bopper because he says if you're not going forward, you're not going to. Those backs don't have any room to operate. And Sam Thido, who's a traditional second row, is playing the front row at the moment. So, look, there's plenty of as is with the Broncos. There's plenty of questions floating about. For me, Matty, I don't like the risk or the idea of Dugan at the club. It goes sort of against what traditionally the Broncos have done in promote within, but they have recruited out before. But look, just given the stance they took with Dane Gagai last year, who would have been a perfect solution to this problem and an option, I can't see how they can hold their hand on their heart and go out and recruit Dugan.
Yeah, very strange. And I don't think Dugan's the type of player. Take away the off-field stuff as well. Look, a real classy player, great finisher, but I just don't think. I think they need that creative half type of player that I'm hoping Corey Norman was going to become. And look, you like to keep as many players as you bring through it, but I just don't think Norman was going to offer them what they want. And good luck to Corey Norman. That's a great deal that he's looked to have signed, reported $500,000 a year. You can't knock back that type of money. Look, I like what probably against the majority. I like what Prince is offering to the Broncos. They've got to work with him. He's creating opportunities. Their timing with Prince seems to be well off. I think if that clicks, it'll be a different story. But I still think they're probably, Prince is a short-term solution. They need to recruit a half, for the next 5 years or so.
And look, fair enough to Corey Norman too. He got the half gig, and it was, by all reports, everyone was pumping up his tyres and loving what he was doing those opening weeks. Trailed away at the end of the year, but was still that prospect player. And all of a sudden, Scott Prince has been parachuted into this position. He's been told, "Hang on, wait another year," after waiting for quite a while. So you can't hold that against him at all. I agree that Prince is only the short-term solution. The
one thing which I really would like the Broncos to have done with Corey Norman and Ben Hunt, which we haven't seen, it might be too late for Hunt now, is that they spent 12 months in the Queensland Cup. They could have sent Ben Hunt to, well, he's allocated to the Capras now, but he could have spent a year as North's halfback, or Corey Norman could have spent the year as the 5'8". We've seen Manly do it so well when they had the affiliation with the Sunshine Coast with Trent Hodgkinson and also Jaley Cherry Evans. That year just leading around a senior football team is so much for a young playmaker's development.
80 minutes every week for 26 weeks instead of 10-15 minutes off the bench in a utility role would have done them a world of good. Couldn't agree with you more on that one, Matty. So going to be very interesting to see. The Broncos have got no room to breathe at all with the Storm coming up this week. Going to be a very tough test. The consolation for the Broncos is probably their attitude, and their defensive attitude is very good. And despite a very sloppy Roosters team last week, the attitude there was very good. So you're going to need all of that, then some if they're going to get over the Storm, who look sharp.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have a word from our sponsors. We'll be back to talk more sport. 22 minutes to 9 here on 101.5. Time now to talk some AFL. He's a good friend of the show. He's our AFL guru from AFL.com. Good morning to Mike Whiting.
How are you, boys? Good with you?
We're really good here this morning, Mike. And, of course, season kicking off last weekend, but the only teams that anyone should be interested here in Queensland kicking off this weekend with the Lions and the Suns. And, of course, start with the Lions, some very good signs for them in the pre-season, taking out the NAB Cup. And I suppose the big question for AFL fans is how much can we read into the Lions' victory out of the NAB Cup?
I think we can take a little bit out of it. Like you said, it's only the pre-season and you've got to take it with a grain of salt to a certain extent. But I think we saw genuine improvement from the Lions. You started to see a little bit of a development of their game plan. A few of their young guys have clearly taken a step forward. They look a lot fitter than they have in previous years. You can just start to see Michael Voss's game plan coming through. So while you've got to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt because not every team was at their strongest, I think you can take a bit out of it going forward.
I guess the big thing for the Lions is probably a confidence factor they'll take out of it for these early season games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they finished last season with 3 straight wins. They've won 5 matches through the NAB Cup. So if you want to look at it that way, that's 8 matches straight. I mean, they're just developing a little bit of a winning culture. They're starting to learn how to win from tight matches. They've had to come from behind once or twice through the pre-season. You can't put a value on winning, can you? So it's a great reinforcement of what they've been doing in training, and what they've been doing under Michael Voss is actually working.
One of the big names that's been floating about this season has been Zorko for the Lions, Mike, and he looks like a player who's going to bring a lot this season, a midfielder who can still go up and kick goals. Is he going to be one to watch in 2013 for the Lions?
Oh, absolutely, he is. He was terrific last year, wasn't he? And he sort of burst onto the scene and sort of took the AFL world by storm a little bit. And he doesn't look like slowing down this year. There's a lot of players you'll hear about second-year blues and second-year syndrome, but Dane's a little bit older. He came into the league at 23. He's now 24. He's had 4 years in the AFLQ with Broadbeach. He's a seasoned body. He knows how to take attention from oppositions. And mate, I'm sure he's going to go just as well, if not better, this year.
One of the biggest recruit for the Lions in the off-season will partner Zorko there, and that's Brent Maloney. And by all reports, he's had a big impact in his short time at the club already.
Yeah, he's been fantastic, Brent Maloney. Like, he came to the club from Melbourne as a free agent, and Brisbane really trying to improve their clearance work. They've got a good young midfield, Brisbane, as we've known over the last couple of years, but just around the stoppages and around the clearances probably let them down a little bit last year. Maloney's come in specifically for that role, and not only has he come in and helped out immediately in the pre-season, but he's an older head, and he's really taken the young midfielders under his wing. So he's had a big impact, and he's fitted into the club beautifully so far.
Now, well, we're going to get you to put your head on the line here. The line surprised plenty last year with probably more wins than they were expected to get. Where are they going to end up come September this year?
Well, mate, I might get crucified by Lions fans for this, but I still think they're going to miss the 8. I've picked them to come 10th. I think they're going to improve, and there's a chance they're going to win more than 10 games. It took 14 wins to get into the 8 last year, so it's a steep benchmark. I think Brisbane will improve, and more importantly, they've just got to close the gap in their performances between when they play those bottom 5 teams and when they play the top teams. And I think they'll take a step forward, but not quite good enough to make the finals just yet. Happily proved wrong, though.
Okay, now as we turn our attention a little bit further south, still in Queensland though, what do you make of the Gold Coast Suns in 2013? Yeah,
good. I think they've recruited well in the off-season as well. They got a couple of older heads in Greg Broughton and Tom Murphy from Fremantle and Hawthorn respectively. They'll both fit in down back nicely. I think their backline's starting to get a little bit more of a solid look about it. It's not just a bunch of kids down there trying to find their way through. They've got a few older heads down there. The midfield chock full of talent, as we know. I'm sure there'll be a little bit of natural progression there as well. So I think they'll improve. I don't know how many wins. I don't want to cap it. I think they've got a good start of the season, like a good draw in the first 6 or 8 weeks, playing a lot of teams around about their level. So they'd be expecting to get 2 or 3 or 4 wins in that first 8 and really kick-start their season. But I think you'll see some improvement for sure.
In a fantastic piece by yourself on the AFL website yesterday, you called this player the worst-kept secret in the AFL, and that's probably right. It's young Jager O'Meara, who, of course, recruited as a 17-year-old to the Suns and has spent a couple of years working his way through. Will make his much-anticipated debut for the Suns this week. What do you make of young O'Meara?
Yeah, he's a terrific kid. Everyone's looking forward to seeing him. I mean, we've all heard about him for the last. He's been at the club for 15 or 16 months now, 2 pre-seasons, enormous raps, and we've seen glimpses of him in the NAB Cup. He's highly talented. I think he's going to make a terrific impact. I mean, let's keep it in perspective. He's still a first-year player, so we can't expect him to take the world by storm. But I think he's just got attributes that you love in a player. He's very tough. He's very skillful. He can win his own contested ball. He can then get out on the outside and run and take a bounce and kick a goal. Very, very exciting player. I can't wait to see him. He's level-headed young bloke as well. So, just really exciting. I'm sure it's not just the Gold Coast fans that are keen to see him, but everyone from around the league.
Now, looking wider than the Lions and the Suns, the top 8 is always interesting to see where that might be made up. Who do you see falling into those positions and really taking the competition by a stranglehold this year?
Yeah, it's tricky. Like when I touched on before about the Lions not being able to quite make the 8, because I don't see many teams from last year falling out. I think the 8's pretty well established. I think 8th spot last year in North Melbourne, they might struggle to keep their spot with a couple of teams pushing up from below. But at the top end, I really think the same teams are going to be there and thereabouts. I think the Premiers, Sydney, are going to be close. People love to underestimate them, but they'll be right there. I've picked Hawthorn to win it this year. I think this is their last chance, really. Their list is ageing. They were so close last year, yet so far. I think they've got to be a big chance again. Everyone's talking about West Coast. A few injuries have come along, but they've got a great, strong list. I think that Hawthorn, West Coast, Collingwood, Sydney, and Fremantle, I think it'll come from somewhere there, but there's no clear-cut favourite, much like last year.
We've recorded this and put it on the podcast, and we'll lock it away until September and revisit it and see.
It's a little bit there, boys, too.
Yeah, that's all. I noticed that. A little bit like the horoscope there, I thought. So, AFL aside for the moment, we know you're a huge NBA fan and a huge Golden State Warriors fan. I'd safely say the only Golden State Warriors fan I'd met before Bogut ended up at the Warriors. Now, a really good year for your guys so far, Mike?
Oh, unbelievable. I've just been like a little kid, just loving their improvement. I've had to watch them struggle for so many years and fumble away down towards the bottom of the Western Conference. But and obviously the addition of Andrew Bogut's been terrific, and now that he's fit and playing some getting some consistent court time, it's just a huge boost for the Warriors. But seeing Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, David Lee, terrific nucleus of a team, and we're so excited we're going to make the playoffs, and now it's just a matter of who we take on in the first round. Yeah,
looking like it may be possibly Denver, the all-conquering Denver Nuggets at the moment, but whoever it is, it's shaping up to be a great playoff series in the Western Conference. All 8 teams offering something a little bit different.
Yeah, they're so competitive. The Western Conference is so competitive. Like you say, they all offer something different. Denver's such a up-and-down team, very exciting. You've got your half-court teams like your San Antonios, and, of course, the LA Clippers offer plenty of excitement. Lob City, everyone loves to watch them play, so plenty of excitement, and we're only a couple of weeks away. I can't wait to see how the seeds fall and see how the matchups pan out.
Like, we love having you on both to wax lyrical about the NBA and the AFL. Sure to be a wonderful season in the AFL this year, and we'll definitely have to get you back on throughout the years and see how the Lions and the Suns are going. Really appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll chat again soon.
No worries, boys. Had a great time. Thanks.
Cheers, Mike.
See you.
Mike Whiting there from AFL.com, and what do you make of the Lions this year, Swamp?
Look, it's definitely something for perhaps lapped fans of the last couple of years. We know what the Favola situation, I suppose we can call it, has had a toll on this club. They're putting that behind them finally now. I think the back end of last year and through the start of this year, they really look like they've got something to offer this season. I hesitate to put them in the 8 as well, but there's definitely reason to watch these guys. They're definitely coming through. They're going to upset a few teams, I think, this season that might be challenging for the 8. And like I said, guys like Zorko and Maloney, Rich and Redden in the midfield as well are starting to come together as a real unit. One of my favourite players who was recruited along with that Favola deal, who's had a torrid run with injury, is Brent Staker. He's coming back this year as well, and hopefully going to take a little bit of pressure off Brown up front. And that's always been one of the Lions' weaknesses. Brownie is an incredible player, but with the one target for the Lions, he's very easy to shut down when you throw 3 or 4 players on him. So with Staker coming back, that'll ease things off Brownie, and I think it's going to be a really good season for the Lions.
I really do, and Swamp, they're in that good position where they've had to blood a couple of rookies over last couple of seasons before their time, but these are, I think it'll reap dividends this year. They've got some of them have got 3 years experience in the AFL, probably before their time, and they're ready to go, and with a nice mixture of some of the greats of the AFL still in that Lions. I think this is the year where they can really do something before a couple of those legends hang up the boots. So this is kind of that one last throw to maybe get to the top 8 before we see some of those hang up the boots.
Now, I'm not going to let you get away with talking about the NBA without dropping a little bit of mention of the Heat streak. I think we're up to number 27 in a row now. Just no big deal. Rolling along quite nicely at the top of the Eastern Conference.
You don't win anything for winning, 27. The Spurs, what about the Spurs last year? They won 23 in a row and couldn't even win the Western Conference.
Not 27 in a row, though.
No, true. They still haven't got the Lakers all-time record, though. I might add that, and I'll just throw that out.
Interesting thoughts LeBron brought out during the week about that he considered this to be a better record given the era that they're playing in, and plenty of people I think he was called LeBron James for it, which is a big call. So
stats are stats at the end of the day, though, when they're in a book.
33, I believe, is the streak by the Lakers, so still room to go. But we'll see how it pans out.
I'd love if Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference knocked them out in the first round of the playoffs. That'd be funny. We'd all have a laugh about that one. I'm repping the Nash jersey today too. Lakers don't like it. We've hit a kind of a lull again, and world peace. Looks like he's out for on our test. Of course, looks like he may be out for the season. But if we can just sneak in, look, not real keen on playing the Spurs first up in the Western Conference final, but as long as we can make it, let the Mamba unleash.
Jeez, when you're talking mathematical chances, it's always...
We're there, Swamp. There it is, right there on the computer. We're running 8th. We're right there. It's all looking good.
Looking good?
Yeah, not bad.
See.
I'll get Brent Elliott onto you if you're not careful. I'll play a song. We'll come back and talk to the man himself. 7 minutes to 9 here on 101.5. You listen to SportsFeva with Matthew and Swampy. Now, Swamp, we've got one of my favourite talents. We're talking to him on the show a couple of years ago. He's a super boxer from the area, mate.
Absolutely, and on the line we have Brent Elliott. He's about to take on his first fight in about 18 months. Good morning to you, Brent.
How you doing, guys?
We're really good here this morning, mate. Now, sadly, your name's been absent from the fight sheets for the last little while. Give us a quick rundown of where you've been and sort of where your travels have taken you, mate.
Mate, it'd be hard to give you a rundown in about the 4 minutes you have for me, but really quickly, after my last fight, October 2011, my trainer decided he was going to take a bit of time off and left me just kind of thinking what else I'd like to do with my life apart from boxing. So, along with my friend Ethan Sorrell, I decided to change things up, and I ended up making a snap decision and moved to London for 7 months, travelled around a bit and got some other life experiences under my belt before realising that boxing's where I got to be at, and come back into it now.
Certainly makes for an interesting chapter into your book, and great to get that life experience. During your time out of the game, Brent, how was your fitness? Did you lose it, or did you keep your fitness up, or take us through that?
I think the base fitness is still there. Boxing's a sport I love, but running's kind of a hobby of mine. So I'd run, I'd work out a little bit just to feel, healthy and okay, but there was definitely a big difference between having a perfectly clean diet, training religiously, and training now and then, and eating whatever I kind of chose. So, yeah, I packed it on a little bit.
Now, mate, some of the opponents that you very handily defeated in your career before you decided to take the break, in this time have gone on to claim some Queensland and Australian titles, and they're opponents that you've dealt with quite comprehensively. Was that a little bit of a tiny factor in this, and these opponents that you defeated have gone on, and I suppose you hadn't perhaps made the most of your opportunity in the sport?
It wasn't a factor at all in me coming back. If anything, it was a little bit of a pat on the back while I was away. It felt quite good to see these people that I'd already defeated get up and win Australian titles. So there was a few of them in a row, which it left me feeling pretty good that obviously I must not have been doing too bad. There was, I think, 3 opponents of mine had all won Australian titles, and one won a state title, and I'd defeated them all. So, yeah, I felt pretty good about that.
Now, you're not taking any half measures in your comeback fight. You're going to be taking on Emmanuel McAuliffe at the Southport RSL next Thursday night, and straight up you're putting your Queensland Super Featherweight title on the line for this fight. How are you feeling ahead of the bout in a week's time?
Yeah, I feel phenomenal. It's been a perfect preparation, really. We've got lots of notice. We've had about 10 weeks' notice to really get in the time. I've been out of the ring that long. It's been important to get in some quality sparring, which we have done. We've put in the hard yards for a long period of time. It's only just now started to seem like a lengthy process, but the hard work's been done. I just couldn't be more excited to get Thursday night underway.
Now, very lucky for everyone that's not able to get to the actual bout, it will be broadcast on Fox Sports on the night. But for those who might want to get down to the Southport RSL, they can contact you for tickets, can't they?
Absolutely. I've got an email address. I'm sure if you have a website, it might be up there. It's Brent Action Elliott with 2 L's and 2 T's at hotmail.com. So if anyone wants a ticket, I've got a few of them that I'm selling off, hoping to get a good crowd at the Gold Coast. I'd love to get a good crowd of fans, but it's a Thursday night and it is in the Gold Coast. If you're up for an incredible experience, I invite you to come along, but I understand a lot of people have work and are a bit soft and need too much sleep.
Absolutely. Well, we'll throw that website up on our all-new SportsFeva Facebook page as well, so anyone that's on Facebook can head along to the SportsFeva 101.5 page and we'll have details on there, Brent.
Fantastic.
Brent, absolute best of luck from SportsFeva for Thursday night, mate. Hopefully it's the beginning of a wonderful new chapter in your boxing career, and we'll definitely have to get you back on in the future, mate, and see how the bout goes. But best of luck, and thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the support. And real quick, I know I don't want to plug 10,000 sponsors, but a friend of mine has just recently gone into starting his own company, and I've got the most respect for him, and I'd like to give him a quick shout-out. It's called Optimum Clinical Exercise Physiology. It'll be opening in Batinia in about 2 or 3 weeks, and best of luck to him. With my other sponsors, action trophies and punch and better concreting. Yeah, all the best, guys.
Fantastic, Brent. Best of luck with it all, mate. Cheers.
Take it easy, guys.
Cheers. Brent Elliott, like I said, Swamp, one of my favourite sports stars from the region. It was, I think I only asked you, it was a couple of months ago, what happened to Brent Elliott, and you've let me in. It's great to see him back because he is a real star in the boxing ring. Now, the full-time siren is about to go, Swamp. We've got the minute warning siren this week. We've cut things a bit fine, but it's been an action-packed show.
As always, and a big thanks to all our guests, Rupert McCall, Jacinta Mesa, Mike Whiting and Brent Elliott, all fantastic this morning at another bumper edition.
Yes, absolutely, and good luck to any of our sporting stars or sporting teams from the Moreton Bay region that do battle across the Easter weekend. Best of luck and hope all goes well. We're not here next Thursday. We'll be back the following Thursday though, so but stay tuned now for Morning Magazine and the national news, and then Morning Magazine for all your news, views and interviews, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.